Okay, welcome to Transmission 24 on World Crypto Network. Today we have Marco from Genesis Mining. Hi, Marco.
Hey, Theo. Hello.
Great. So, tell us, how did you get into Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining?
Um, for me, it actually started quite early. I was next to my studies in mathematics. I got very interested in graph theory and graphical representations in mathematics, and I stumbled across some articles showing this idea of Bitcoin and the blockchain and their graphical representation. And for me, it was very interesting because in this graphical representation of the blockchain, you could theoretically, you could just see the whole cash flow of the whole economy represented in a very nice way. And I was very interested in correlating by that time structures that emerge in this graphical representation of the blockchain to the price. So I wanted to find these ways and wanted to see what cash flows correlate to price movements. That was my interest, besides my normal mathematical research.
So, did you find anything? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but did you find any correlation? Because some people talk about that. They say, hey, there's a lot of movement in the blockchain. I see a lot of transactions.
Yeah.
They say, oh, these are coins moving out of exchanges. There's people that just bought them and they're holding them. And I always ask, well, how do you know, what address that is? I mean, they seem to be really convinced, and it is true. It's interesting. Most of the people that say that have a math background, like you.
Yeah.
So, did you find it? Could you find any correlations concretely?
Well, I mean, what's certainly interesting is to check. Yeah, there are some exciting wallets where there is a huge amount of cash flow. But yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, you have to first see what's actually in this whole space of data. You have to see what's relevant transactions and what is just noise in the data, right? And I mean, there are gambling services like Satoshi Dice by that time, or others, where those transactions doesn't make any or don't correlate in any sense to the price. But what is in interest, of course, you mentioned, are the wallets of the exchanges, some OTC transactions, wallets of payment processors, things like that. It's still a very interesting topic. By that time, I mean, you cannot complete the whole research there in this short amount of time. But this was certainly my entrance to the world of Bitcoin, and I'm still very excited. And I just want, just on a side note, the work that we are doing for Genesis Mining, which is mostly of course mining. Next to that, we are also developing since more than 2 years an algorithmic trading bot, and we are also improving and developing modules for blockchain analysis correlated to price movements.
Okay,
So
well, that's really interesting.
Early work got influenced or continued then in the work for our trading framework in Genesis Mining.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you have to let me know if you have an indicator ready that kind of scans the blockchain for, big volume transactions. I mean, people are really looking at that. I haven't been able to see a correlation myself, but it is interesting to see when people point out. And sometimes when there is something like Mt. Gox or other fraud or so on, people try to track down the transactions in the blockchain, like on Bitcoin Talk. You see it's really interesting what people can do trying to track down where the funds are going. It's
yes, I mean, it's a 100% transparent economy, right? It's actually a dream of every economist of any research economist to really yeah, who wants to analyze a market. It cannot be more transparent, right? So it's very exciting. And I think the research on this topic is growing. And I also know from my friends that there are more and more people really also start to make thesis, master, bachelor's thesis in the emerging world of Bitcoin and blockchain.
Okay, yeah, great. So, well, I didn't really expect to talk to you about that, but I want to ask one or two more questions about blockchain analysis because I think that's really interesting. So, like you said, it has a lot of positive aspects, like, you can track down if someone steals some funds. I mean, you can't necessarily catch them, but you might be able to try to estimate where the funds are going. Or if I'm a charity, I can say, hey, this is my wallet, and now I'm going to use the funds. This is what I used it for, etc. But what about governments or other authorities using the blockchain to kind of, yeah, just watch us, just like a camera? Do you think that's coming, or what's your opinion about that?
It's dangerous. You're right, and you always have to be aware of that. And I personally, I'm totally not a fan of that because it's a bit scary, to be honest. If I mean, it is as it is, right? If you can resolve the Bitcoin address to your real identity, you can track a lot of stuff with it. And you just have to go to a coffee shop and pay with Bitcoin, and you see that the person that just bought a coffee is belonging to this, or this Bitcoin address belongs to the person who just bought a coffee. And you can track that back and see what else happened to this address. And yeah, it's you have to see the advantages, of course, of Bitcoin and the technology, but you also have to be aware of what follows and what needs to be protected, and you need to really take care of your privacy. That's very important, correct? Because the pendulum of anonymity for Bitcoin can swing back, and then it's a total transparency and no privacy at all, right? And that's I think the majority of the Bitcoin world doesn't like this idea.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, great. So let's go back to mining. So Genesis Mining is a cloud mining operation for. Did you start off with SHA-256 or Scrypt? Because currently you have both, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So why cloud mining? And did you start off with just your own mining farm, or how did it get started?
Yeah, well, Genesis Mining got started by the time when the Bitcoin price was exploding by the end of 2013. I think it was in October, November when it rose from $100 to $1,000. Actually, what really made the start of Genesis Mining was the month later where Litecoin exploded by a much higher degree than Bitcoin, because it went up to $30 to $35, and coming from, I guess, $1 or anywhere in this region. So it was a multiplier by 30, and that, of course, blew up, just increased the market volume and market capacity of general, the whole Scrypt-based altcoins. And this enabled the opportunity to mine Scrypt-based altcoins. And by that time, Scrypt was really in its beginning, and that means there were no FPGAs, there were no ASIC mining technology. It was really just pure CPU and GPU mining. GPU mining by that time, obviously, because CPU is not performing against GPU, because Scrypt is a very memory-intensive algorithm. But that brought up the opportunity to get really a decent profit by using your graphic cards. And of course, we weren't the only ones that saw that. And by that time, already in America, there was no graphic card available anymore because everybody bought them in masses. And because obviously, I mean, you buy a graphic card, you mine a bit, and then you have the money back that you have for the graphic card. Then you continue to mine, make even more profit, and in the end, you have a nice high-end graphic card for the gamers eventually who want to use it for gaming. You know, so a huge thing. And we were lucky. We found a very big a distributor in Europe that we literally bought out for several weeks. He didn't deliver any graphic card to anybody else than to us, and we deployed the graphic cards, every graphic card we could get in a big facility in Bosnia, because it's a place that the electricity is very low. So it was very interesting for us, and the trucks came then from this distributor to our facilities, and we built it up. And I would say by that time we had, we still have the biggest GPU farm in Europe.
Okay, great. So are you still using GPUs over there in Bosnia?
Well, that's a good point. I hope I didn't. I'm not getting confused here. That was the start. So Scrypt, as the same as in SHA, where the technology evolved, like you first came the CPUs, then the GPUs. From the GPUs, you went to the FPGAs. From the FPGAs to the ASIC miners. The same happened obviously to Scrypt because it was hugely profitable by that time. And of course, some people who were familiar with chip design got the idea. Hey man, let's produce an ASIC chip for this algorithm. And yeah, there were some rumors going on at the beginning whether Scrypt. Some people said it's not possible to make an ASIC miner for Scrypt, but it was pointed out that this is not true. You just need a clever designer, and there were enough. So the market of Scrypt ASIC miners, arose, and the technology evolved. So we started with GPUs, and then expanded our facilities to China, made a bigger partnership with Chinese chip manufacturers, and offered our customers to the new technology, ASIC miners in Scrypt, and offered them cloud mining with Scrypt ASICs.
Okay, great. So where are your operations now currently for both SHA and Scrypt?
Mm-hmm. Well, our facilities are distributed really as we think it's important from several reasons, from the risk perspective, but also, not to centralize too much. Obviously, this is not a good side on mining, centralization. Although we are not in any sense centralizing very much. We can come back to that later in a separate point, but we are actually distributing the hash power out to the clients, right? So we are not increasing the centralization of the network, but yeah, our facilities are distributed, and some are in Asia, some are in Europe, but we also have ones in America.
Okay, great. So, of course, mining takes a lot of electricity, a lot of power is spent, securing these blockchains. Should Bitcoin change its algorithm or to be more energy efficient, you think? And what do you think about other algorithms like proof of stake, delegated proof of stake, X11, or other algorithms? Should Bitcoin switch over to another algorithm to make it more green, or should it just stay with SHA-256 proof of work?
Well, I have to say, I think the real question is whether proof of work makes sense, because all other proof of work algorithms have the same in common, right? If the competition is high enough, the electricity consumption will increase automatically. For example, at the beginning of SHA mining, Satoshi used his computer, right, and mined 90% of the reward, or even more by the time he was alone. So it really depends on the competition. And for example, in X11, of course, now it's relative to the hash power. It's, you can eventually say it's not so electricity. It doesn't consume too much, so much electricity to have significant parts of hash power of the system. But this is only a matter of competition in the network. So if Darkcoin or any X11 coin would rise, you would of course see more and more. More and more other parties joining, and then you would automatically have an effect on your electricity bill. So the only question, in my opinion, is whether proof of work or other proof of consensus system makes sense or not.
Okay. Do you guys stake coins?
Yes, yeah, sure.
Okay, so some of the altcoins you mine are proof of stake, and then you stake the coins also.
Yes. Well, we are. I mean, you mean now for Genesis mining or?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, okay, I have to go look at the list, but I know you have several Scrypt altcoins you can choose from. So for people that haven't seen it, so you can buy a contract, and it can be SHA-256, or it can be a Scrypt contract, and I can choose, Litecoin or Viacoin or Potcoin.
Yeah.
And okay, none of those are proof of stake. I don't even know if you have. Do you have any proof of stake coins offered?
Well, yeah. First of all, the coins that we're offering on our homepage are, for example, when you see, we have Scrypt and SHA, and in SHA, obviously, the coins that are mined with SHA are mined directly with SHA, but coins that are not mineable with SHA, we are mining on an indirect way, so to say, by mining the most profitable SHA coins and then exchange it to the desired currency. For example, if you have in a SHA menu, you want to mine, you have SHA hash power and you want to mine a Darkcoin, which actually has the mining algorithm X11, we would use our trading framework I was referring to at the beginning by determining what is the most profitable SHA coins, and then exchange these coins to the desired gold currency like Darkcoin. But besides that, of course, we are a fan of the altcoin market. Surely there are altcoins that are questionable, but there are also altcoins that have functionalities that are, in my opinion, have high potential. And we are, for example, Darkcoin, in my opinion, I don't want to make too much advertisements for this coin, but it has some really interesting anonymity functions, like this intrinsic mixing service that is quite characteristic for Darkcoin. I just want to give you one example. This is, for example, a coin that we stake. So we also have some coins and we stake it. There is a concept called master nodes. You need a certain amount of Darkcoins to have some master nodes, and you can earn interest when you are holding a master coin, a master node. And this is just one example. We also are involved with other altcoins. Yes, this is just because we believe in some functionalities of the altcoin market, but this doesn't have anything immediate to do with our mining operation, Genesis Mining.
Okay, great. Okay, now getting back to Bitcoin, maybe you've heard that Gavin, one of the core developers, has proposed increasing the number of transactions allowed on the Bitcoin network by raising the block size by about 50% a year.
Yes.
and to do this, to use a fork to do it. Do you agree with his proposal, or do you think that would be good or bad for Bitcoin? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's completely necessary. If Bitcoin has to show grow, and this is a must actually, if it will go mainstream, which we all want, or the majority of people want, this is definitely important that it can be scalable. And well, with Gavin's suggestion, I think yeah, it's just a feature that needs to be implemented to be able to scale the Bitcoin network.
Okay, great. Um, what do you think, or how can people audit mining companies? So you offer cloud mining, and there's also several cloud mining operations. There's Ghash, which I think has halted some of their cloud mining operation. There's also the infamous Paycoin and their whole cloud mining thing they have going on. And, you know, how can people that want to buy a contract audit or be sure that the mining company actually has hashing power?
That's a very good question, especially at the current situation with the fraud in the cloud mining market in general, because there are more and more companies, scam companies arising, using the word cloud mining to run a Ponzi scheme. And I think it's very important to have a kind of prevention method to detect those fraudsters and really to highlight the legal businesses. And but it's yeah, it's the audit is, in my opinion, necessary for this, but it's also not so easy how to do it, because there are some attempts. For example, someone is showing, hey, you know, you have to show us that by putting some hash power, yeah, you just have to show us that on this wallet you are mining with this and this amount of hash power. But that's not valid, for example, because you can just rent it. You know, you can pay for one day a huge amount, just a big operation. And people could go to us and say, hey man, I want to run another cloud mining business. I need a proof of hash power, and then ask us, can you please switch for one day the hash power to this address? And so this is not the way to go, right? We are currently setting up a document where we want to highlight this, where we want to highlight the points that are important for providing the necessary confidence for clients to know that the company they are dealing with is real. And yeah, I'm very optimistic that this document will have some good points that can be used for validation.
All right, that sounds really interesting. Yeah, that's true. You could just rent the hash power and say, hey, I have this much hash power. It's kind of hard to prove.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we are doing really for the public now. We are, I think, we are, if not the most transparent cloud mining company. We are showing pictures of our farm. We had some internal discussion whether we should do it, because there is also some IP with it. You know, the structure, the cooling, how the setup is done. We had quite some discussion about that, but for us, it's just the most important point, and it has highest priority that people see what they get, and transparency is for us the most important thing. So we showed the pictures, and we are doing all other things to keep our clients updated and let them see what they get.
Okay, that sounds
We
good.
are
So,
even, sorry, Theo, to say that
sure.
as well. We are even flying bigger clients who would certainly, I mean, when you're doing a bigger investment, mostly you do due diligence, and for bigger clients who would like to do some due diligence, we're even flying them around in Iceland over the facilities, which is an offer that a lot of people love to see. And for us, it's just yeah, an important part to increase the confidence of our clients.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, like any company, there's sometimes some, harsh criticism. And in the German section of the Bitcoin Talk forum, there's a little thread about Genesis. And, some people are really unhappy with some things. Basically, it just comes down to most of the people are talking about Scrypt contracts that they bought, and they're not paying out anymore. And I believe the last post was something that there's an offer where you can switch over a Scrypt contract to a SHA contract or something of the sort. And I guess that it also has to do with the simple fact of the Bitcoin price, crashing, and then you have to pay a maintenance fee on your contract, I believe. And if the maintenance fee is higher than the coin value mined today, then I assume the contract would just stop paying out. Is that correct? Or what do you have to say about some of these criticisms? That people are just disappointed that they're not getting a return on investment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sure. By what we are doing, we can promise, or we are confident that we are offering a service that when you plan to invest in mining, it is very unlikely, of course, if you know some source of completely free electricity due to political influence or whatever, it might be not the case, but in general, we are very confident that it is the most efficient way of running a mining operation. That comes to the fact that we are at spots and electricity places on the planet that have lowest electricity prices, and that also comes to the fact that we have an optimized system for running highest efficiency mining operations. That means compensating of hash power that when machines have a downtime or things like that. In this case, yeah, we feel very confident to say that. And of course, with a mining investment, it's the same as also an investment into Bitcoin. There is a potential high reward, but there is also a high risk, right? And I think I don't need to explain that to people who invested in Bitcoin. Mining is actually a risk level higher because you have two random variables, so to say. It's not only the Bitcoin price that you need to consider, it's also the difficulty. And that increases the level of risk even more, although, of course, the upside can be huge. It really depends on these two facts and two influences. And I think when I look back now, by the beginning of 2014, it was a really crazy time. That was when we started. But of course, yeah, a really crazy time, and also for the clients, it was a huge opportunity. But of course, when we all look back in the year 2014, and we just see that the Bitcoin price dropped from $1,000 to now 200 and where is it now? 230.
Yeah, 220, 230 range.
Yeah. You just see that, yeah, there some investors, yeah, didn't have the brightest time for investment. But in my opinion, I'm definitely not pessimistic about this fact. I'm a long-term believer in Bitcoin, and I'm very sure that for the long term, and I'm only investing in Bitcoin personally in the long term, and also for our clients. Bitcoin in the long term will be a binary will be a binary thing. It will be either much more value or zero. And the likelihood that it's much more value, in my opinion, is greater than it's zero. So in my opinion, it's an attractive long-term investment. And that's just what I wanted to say to the people who didn't have the best time for any investment related to Bitcoin in the last year.
Okay.
And regarding to your points, yeah, it's really like that. I mean, especially by the end of now 2014 and the beginning of 2015, the altcoin market experienced quite some significant profitability drops. That was also due to Litecoin, whose price decreased quite heavily. I mean, the electricity from the electricity providers, as cheap as they are, but they will not respect the Litecoin price, right? And and if this is the constant thing we need to cover from the company, this is the natural consequence, and that has the consequence that the payouts, there will not be any payouts. Because we cannot run our mining operation with a loss. But I want to say as well that we gave our users, instead of just turning down the machines, we gave them the opportunity to switch their Scrypt hash power to SHA for free.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah, thanks for clearing that up, yeah. Okay, I also have another question. You talked about mining centralization a little bit. What do you think about P2 pools, and do you use them, and what kind of pools do you use? I mean, you also talked about that you have an algorithm to mine the most profitable altcoin, but I mean, you know, there are different types of pools, and a lot of people are saying if more people use P2 pools, that it would help the centralization issue. What's your opinion about that?
We are diversifying over various pools, so we are not only using one pool, which is increasing the decentralization. Also, I really have to mention that, of course, it's a valid point to say, well, but the hardware is centralized in a way, but our users are having control of our hardware. They are deciding what they mine. And then in this way, we are decreasing we are increasing the decentralization in this way compared to other private big mining operations that deploy large-scale hardware, run on their only one pool, and do whatever they want with it.
Okay, great. So what's your prediction for the Bitcoin difficulty in the next 2 or 3 months and the next year? Up, down, by how much? What do you think?
That's well, how can I say? Whether the difficulty is going to go up or down depends on whether there are agents in the mining field that mine profitable, and this depends on the efficiency of the hardware and on the electricity prices the most efficient player gets. From the hardware side, it's very interesting now to see what will follow. For example, for Scrypt, there was at the beginning of 2014, there was a huge race, and a lot of people had the idea to make a chip design and to make an ASIC miner for Scrypt. And actually, the market was literally overcrowded with manufacturers that taped out a Scrypt ASIC. But now, since the profitability decreased in the Scrypt market, Unfortunately, it's a harder bet now for someone who wants to bring up a new ASIC miner and to push down to bring forward the efficiency in this field, because now when you want to do when you want to do a 20, 22 or 20 or 16 even nanometer Scrypt ASIC, you would have to pay quite a lot of money. It's 5 million or higher, and you have to see you have to get the 5 million back in order to make you want to make a profit on that, right? And that definitely depends on the profitability. And in Scrypt, this is now quite interesting to see what happens. In Bitcoin, I know, and that's what I can say, why I can say it. I know quite a lot of manufacturers, and I know that obviously the technology is not sleeping in this area, which, in my opinion, I think we will see a lot of increase of efficiency. And whether that will increase the difficulty, we will see. That's a tough question, but in my opinion, I think that the efficiency will increase. So that means that we will see 16 nanometer, eventually even a 14 nanometer chips that are coming out. But yeah, it's interesting to see within the next months whether the difficulty will rise or will fall. It's something that I really cannot say because it's so complex, and there's a lot of players involved, right? What I can say is that we are really, when it comes to the nanometer sizes, we went extremely fast in the last years. When you just see from where the first ASIC miner started, and now we are seeing really companies that think about taping out 60 nanometers or even 40 nanometers. You just see that we're approaching very rapidly the nanometer size where the mainstream computer technology is. For example, Intel is now at 14 nanometers, and they plan to be, I think, next year in 10 nanometers. But to be faster or smaller than Intel, of course, this is a threshold that will be very hard to step over. So it's very interesting to see how long we will see increase of hardware efficiency in this market.
Okay, great. Well, that's about all. Do you have any final words that you want to tell our viewers?
No, I'm glad that I could be here in the show, and I hope that everybody stays conscious and stays open, and of course, doesn't get how can I say is really critic in what they hear. And I think in the Bitcoin world, it's characteristic that people are thinking different ways than normal people, and you have to stay.
Hey, we're normal people. What do you mean? We're not normal people?
Sorry.
No, I'm just joking.
But no, I'm just saying that people from the cryptocurrency world are more critical, but I mean that it's as a positive point, critical what's going on in the world. And I think especially nowadays, it's very important to stay that way. And I hope, I'm very sure that we will have exciting times and a lot of innovation coming up. And I'm very much looking forward to the future in the cryptocurrency world.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for being on the show. Thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe to World Crypto Network below. Also check out the links in the description. You've got links to Genesis Mining and the Twitter, and also my Twitter, World Crypto Network Twitter, and also there's a donation address in the description too. Feel free to donate. And see you next time. Thanks for watching Transmission 23 on World Crypto Network.
Goodbye.